Well, as promised, we get a chance to talk some Boise State women's soccer here. The head coach, Jim Thomas, joining us. I like that hat, Jim. That's a pretty style-looking hat there. But
Yeah,
we appreciate
flat
it,
bill.
man.
I didn't know. I didn't know I
Yeah,
could get away with a flat bill, but apparently I can.
there you go, man. The cool kids are loving it. But 10 years now as the head coach of the Boise State soccer program. You guys are having another tremendous season. We appreciate you joining us. How's it going?
Great, happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
What's this been like for you? We'll get into kind of the records with all the scoreless streak and the ties and all that, but you guys are off to another year. You had another good weekend, and you're heading to Fresno this week. How's life as the head coach right now?
It's good. We're in the trenches. We've got 5 games to go, and every point counts. So it's a matter of trying to get those finer details to turn 1 point into three, and make sure 1 point doesn't turn into zero. So the whole league's super tight right now. So it's fun, but it coming to an exciting end for no doubt.
Now you're undefeated in the last 11 matches, 5-0-6. It's a program record for the longest unbeaten streak in program history. You haven't lost a match since September 1. I know you'd rather be 11-0 than 5-0-6 in that stretch, but the run you're on right now, how are you guys doing it?
Defense. We're so good at the back, and I say that now it's like the commentator's curse. She wants to give up 5 goals on next weekend, but we're doing really well from a collective standpoint, and we pair both sides of the ball really well together, where the way that we attack enables us to defend in a really good way. And if you look on the other side of the statistics, we outshot our opponent 24-2. I think we've given up something like 8 shots in the last 4 games on goal. So it's not just about how well we're defending, but we're also producing great opportunities to score from that. And we're just a little unfortunate on the weekend.
Now, I said, we can knock on wood. We have to talk about it, I guess, just because it is what the story right now with your team. But 8 straight shutouts, program record, haven't given up a goal in 750 minutes of play. I mean, have you ever been a part of a stretch like this?
No, that's a lot of math you just did there. Good for you.
We'll give Matt Brumley the credit. Matt Brumley gave me the
yeah. He's no math wizard, so that probably took him a week to get there. It's fun. I think the biggest thing that you notice with streaks like this is the pride that players start to take in it. As a coach, we're part of things for a long time. As you mentioned, this is my 10th season, and we've been through a lot over the last 4 or 5 years. And when I look through my career, it's not exactly been plain sailing the entire way. So when we get into good spots, I take a lot of pride in that. My staff, Liz and Max, take a lot of pride in what they're doing and how we all come together to contribute to success. But sometimes the players don't grab hold of that the same way. And some people call it buy-in or whatever. But for us, creating a culture that they're a reflection of and that they get to define is a real key component to this. But what gets lost in all of this process-oriented stuff is that we're in a results-based business. There needs to be an outcome. And every Thursday and Sunday, there is one. For that, these players really get to look at those statistics and say, you know what, I'm proud of that. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to fight for that. And if you listen to Jocelyn after the game yesterday in her post-game interview, it's all she talked about, the pride that every player is taking in the fact that we're continuing to keep clean sheets. So hopefully that'll keep up.
Now, we talked a couple of weeks ago, and maybe I got this kind of incorrectly, but I remember you talking about how you guys were scoring at a record pace at the time, and you said, but you said with that was you might give up some goals too because you're going to be more on the attacking end trying to score.
Right.
What changed?
I honestly don't know. To be frank with you, I think some of the things that retrospectively I see now, where we were very reliant on a freshman goal scorer in Hayden. You put a great piece out on her, and she's an excellent player. I think you saw a rebound performance from her on Sunday, but imagine the stress and the fatigue that kid's carrying when she's only doing it for the first time, and all of a sudden the weight of the program is on her to score. I think that starts to make you a little fuzzy, maybe, and her movement wasn't as good. Her technical stuff wasn't as sharp, and I think a little break from the game, a little step back for her really, really helped her. And she looked fantastic on Sunday. And I think she's going to get back on track here real quick. But I think that's really what starts to happen as you go through a season is that you're going to find fatigue. People will emotionally and mentally get a little fuzzy, and you have to work through those ebbs and flows. And obviously there's a heavy amount of scouting now. So it's no surprise what anybody's doing, and they should be trying to stop it. So you have to continue to try and evolve faster than that wave. And certainly from a defensive standpoint, we've done that. From a creating opportunity standpoint, we've done that too. I just think we need to be a little sharper in converting them and fine.
Now, we've seen your goalkeeper obviously get some Mountain West awards and things like that. I mean, are you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, are you playing? If someone maybe hasn't come out and seen a lot of these games, are you guys playing a quote unquote defensive game? Is it possession that you're keeping it away from them? Is she just making a ton of great saves? How do you? What has been the secret to this streak?
Yeah, it's quite the interesting stat. So we're second in the league for shots taken. We're second in the league for goals scored. But we're 11th in the league for saves made. She's only actually made 39 saves all season.
Wow.
So she's protected. But of those saves, if you go back and watch the Colorado State game, it was a world-class save. She doesn't make that save, we lose 1-0. So these ties have been preserved. Yesterday, she came out through about 4 or 5 of their players and punched the ball out of danger. And it saved the game in the last 10 minutes of it. So she's good for 1 or 2 absolutely world-class saves a game. But thankfully, she has a group in front of her that are keeping it down to about that. And they need to make sure they continue to do that. But you mentioned it there a little bit. We control a lot of the flow of the game. Statistically, we get a lot of this stuff analyzed. The analytics in our game now are quite important. And we've averaged over 400 passes per game, which is a lot. It's comparable with the Premier League. We've had a high of 570 connected passes
Wow.
out of 700 attempted. That we just have the ball a lot. And that means that the other team is more fatigued. So when they try and attack us, they don't have the same juice. Easier for us to stop them, get back on it. But the games are actually open. And the more open that they are, the better for us. We're actually an attackingly set up team. We play an attacking style. The defense is an attacking style of defense. And again, I think if you statistically look at how many opportunities we're creating, we should be scoring goals. If you were to evaluate whether they were good or you're just jacking shots from the halfway line, they're not. We're in. It's just been a little bit of an unfortunate rub of the green. And I think if we can stay to it, those things are going to fall for us really soon.
We're visiting here for a couple more minutes with Jim Thomas, the 10th-year coach of the Boise State women's soccer program here on Bronco Nation News Live at bronconationnews.com. And so I think, in the last 7 games, 5 of the games have been scoreless, right? 5 ties in the last 7 games. I mean, is that, I guess, as someone that's not a guy that follows soccer which by the way, I'm going to have to as much because my hometown of St. Louis, we just got an MLS team that starts next year. So I'm forcing myself now and following what you guys are doing the last couple of years. I'm trying to force myself into becoming, you're getting me on board, coach, into soccer here. But 0-0 ties, it doesn't really do it for me. I know maybe for you and the purists of the game, you love it, but this might be a dumb question, but why don't they go to PKs in the regular season or something? Why do you end it as a tie?
So we used to. This is the first year in the NC2A's history that they've gotten rid of sudden death overtime. So you play 2 10-minute intervals, and if you scored in that period, the game was automatically over.
Okay.
And then they've never gone to penalty kicks in the regular season, but they would do in the playoff segments of the season. So that will come back. So will the overtimes when we get into the conference tournament and into the NC2A tournament. Now, they're just trying to reduce the amount of minutes that players are playing. Playing 2 games this close together and this many games in this short of a period of time has a lot of health risks to it that's not great for the players, and they're trying to protect them. But I get it. My wife asks me that every single day. What are we doing? And you can look at it from 2 lenses, right, BJ? You can look at it from the perspective of if you're the lesser and you manage to get your way to a tie, great, love ties. If you're the greater and you just can't get ahead, you're disappointed you don't have another opportunity to put them away. So it's the way that the world plays the game. It feels very customary for me. I'm not really that bothered by it. I think it's frustrating from our perspective because we've been such the protagonists in all of the games that we've played that have been ties especially. And I think out of all of those ties, I think one of them I felt comfortable with. UNLV, we weren't very good. I don't know whether we deserved to win that game, and that ended up in a tie, and it's fine. But the rest of them, we should have won. We should have won moving away with it. So it's something for us to learn and adjust to, but the rest of the league are having to do that too. And so are the rest of the country. There's more ties now than ever. So I was going to say,
you're 15 games in and you've had 7 of your 15 games end in ties. I mean, is that a higher percentage than usual?
Yeah. The most, I think in my 10 years, the most we've had in an entire season has been 6. So that'll tell you something. And, you usually get a result, right? I think the statistics came out that of all of the overtimes we had previously, 50% of them were actually decided. So now we've lost 50% of the ties becoming an actual result. Everywhere across the country, there's just more ties. And another way for us to look at it, though, is we've only lost twice.
Yeah.
You know,
it's great from that standpoint. Now you mentioned Hayden. She's got 7 goals. Morgan Stone, Kenzie McMillan with 4. Just want to give you an opportunity to touch on some of your individual players, and it's obviously been a team effort to get to this point, but you've had a couple that have really stepped up.
Yeah, I mean, starting with the assists, I think Ashley Bergey's leading our team in assists right now, and she does a very understated role really, really well, about as active a player as we have. Carly Cross statistically hasn't actually popped as much as she is maybe one of the most exciting players we have. She's so aggressive off the dribble and expressive with the ball, but you're right. It's Kenzie McMillan who's come into prominence in a new role. She was a midfielder out of high school and came in as a midfielder here, and it just didn't quite pan out. We moved her to a wide forward position, and she's just blossoming out there. And it seems like every day she's got a wonder strike in her back pocket, and we're just waiting to see it. Stoney's been really consistent for us. Set piece wizard, brilliant at the PK spot, but has really developed as a dribbler and an outside shooter as well. And was unlucky not to win it for us at the death yesterday as well, so that was tough. And I think Hayden's a bit of a reprisal of our former great in Ramey. We haven't had a 9, a central striker that's been willing to take responsibility of when we give you the ball, you're going to create goal-scoring opportunities for us. And she's really doing that, even in this small drought that she's in. It's not any different to the way that she's playing every day. It's just the ball hasn't rolled in the goal. And all of those guys build off of a great platform. Morgan Pador is a phenomenal 6, probably the best holding midfielder in the league. And the way that she wins the ball and sets the stage for us is almost like a quarterback in football, and it allows everybody else to go where they need to go. And we're very, very aggressive with our defenders. You saw that yesterday, the likes of Joss and Mace, Dorian, Peyton, and Abby just carrying the ball 20, 30 yards up the field. So if you do come out and watch, it's an exciting thing to watch. It's just a little bit more maybe like a pitcher's duel at the moment, where you get into the ninth inning and it's 0-0 who's going to break the tie. So that's the way it's rolled for us. But it's been a fun deal watching these guys grow from an attacking perspective.
Well, I know it's hard to figure out the standings with all these ties in the league, and I know there's a formula and stuff, but I think you guys are tied with Utah State, right, for second right now. I mean, you're up near the top. Right. How do you I know there's a lot of games left, but do you feel pretty good about the direction of this team? And is this one of the teams that you think could reach some of the levels that some of your previous teams have?
Yeah, I mean, you win out, you win the league. So everything's ahead of us at this point, and that's good. Certainly, it's going to be a tough run. I think 4 out of the last 5 games with players in the teams in the top half of the league, and that's what we're about anyway, playing in big games like that. This team have all of the attributes. You need a little bit of luck. You need a little bit of consistency and form to hold true. But we're in a good spot right now. It's an important weekend for us, being on the road right before a massive home game weekend with San Diego State and New Mexico coming in 2 weeks. So it's getting down to it. 5 games left, everything to play for. But as you said, I mean, it's super tight. There's like going into the weekend, there was only one game defining 12th to 1st. Now we're starting to see a little bit of separation. If we can keep ahead of that curve, we'll be right there at the end.
Well, before we let you go, Coach, I know you're busy and you don't have a lot of free time, but for Bronco Nation out there, I mean, there's a lot of sports going on right now. Whether it's playoff baseball, you got NFL, you got college football. What when you're at home and you get a rare free second, are you watching Netflix? Are you watching NFL? What do you like to do when you get some free time?
It depends what time of the day it is. If it's the crack of dawn, then I'm Premier League all day long.
All right.
Until about the kickoffs for the NFL. And then if it's a Saturday, then I'll go college football day. And if it's a Sunday, we'll go on to the NFL. And then my wife takes over in the evening, and we seem to end up with some either housewife show, rebuild your house show, or Dateline. So we'll go through the whole gambit in the evening. But
I know how that goes.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I have to go across the pond, so I've got to keep in touch with what's going on back home.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we really appreciate your time. You mentioned a big weekend coming up with a couple of road games. Thursday, you'll be at Fresno, and then obviously you mentioned coming back home. It's going to be Thursday, October 20th, a week from Thursday, 4 o'clock against New Mexico. Sunday, 1 o'clock against San Diego State. Hopefully you've been getting some big crowds out there. Hopefully you'll get it again next weekend, but you got to take care of business, obviously, on the road this weekend first. Jim, really appreciate your time, and we'll see you out there at the complex here shortly, and looking forward to following you guys as you push towards another Mountain West title.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.